Hey, most guitar advice meant for younger people actively makes it harder to learn later in life. After teaching for more than 40 years and hundreds of mature students, I can tell you that a rewarding guitar learning experience comes down to 3 rules. And most guitar teachers won't mention this to you. So in this video, I'll walk you through all 3 of those rules. I'll show you why they make the difference between students who stick with it and students who don't. I recently sat down to practice. I picked up my guitar and played through music that I really like. This was music I could only dream of playing when I started. I felt miserable. You see, I was focusing on what I needed to improve on and what I couldn't do yet. Now, intellectually, I knew I was making progress. Just earlier in the week, I'd noticed a technique that I'd been struggling with for a while was noticeably better than the week before. And still, my attention went straight to what's not right yet. Can you relate to this? You accomplish something real, and then you just gloss right over it and put all your attention on what's not working yet. As adults, we spend decades getting good at spotting what needs improvement. It's a genuine skill. But when we bring that same habit to guitar practice, it turns against us. No matter what you achieve, no matter how far you've come, your instinct is to measure how far you still have to go. You practiced for 10 minutes, but wanted to practice for 20. So instead of acknowledging the 10 minutes that you did more than you did yesterday, you focus on being 10 minutes short of your goal. When this pattern takes over, it drains the joy right out of playing. And when the joy goes, people stop. So rule number 1 is don't focus on the gap. Instead, train yourself to notice how far you've come. Celebrate the wins, even the small ones, especially the small ones. That builds the staying power that you really need to keep going when things get tough. And more than that, you actually get to enjoy the ride. Learning guitar is a long game. If the only good moments are the ones at some distant finish line, most of the journey feels like you're falling short. Now, rule number 2 is going to deal with something I think every one of us is guilty of, especially if you're excited to improve. Years ago, my student Chris insisted he needed to learn Stairway to Heaven. Yep, I knew I should teach him more appropriate beginner songs, but after several sessions, I relented. Pretty quick, I realized how big a mistake that was. Even though he could play some of the chords, his hands were tense and contorted. It was easy to see it wouldn't support long-term growth. And before long, Chris quit playing guitar in frustration. So you're probably thinking, I'd never do that. Who would want to start off playing something like Stairway to Heaven? I guess that might be me, but that's besides the point. I actually saw this pattern a lot in self-taught adult guitar players, especially adults, at my music school. They'd come into the school and they'd show me what they could play. Then they'd proceed to tense up and bend the wrists in ways that looked pretty painful. Now, I've been there and I understand. The thinking goes, if you shoot for something you'd love to play, but it's beyond your level, it'll keep you motivated and you'll pick up some basics along the way. Kind of shoot for the stars and you might land on the moon. As I found out the hard way, it doesn't work. When you try to make a big leap, you tense up and you build bad habits that hold you back. The quickest way up a ladder isn't a big leap. It's the very next rung. So rule number 2 is reach for the next rung. The next rung is a step that's close enough to actually reach and one that sets up the very next move after it. So how do you decide what the next rung is? A good next step should stretch you, but not leave you feeling like you've landed on another planet. You should recognize most of what you're doing, with maybe just one new challenge added. New rhythm, chord, maybe a new hand pattern. If the new skill still feels out of reach, even though you play it really slow, that's usually a good sign you've gone beyond your current level. But this is where another trap shows up, and it's one that rule number 3 addresses directly. The trap is this. As adults, we've been rewarded our whole lives thinking things through before we act. From school to work, understanding came before doing. That approach served us well. Guitar doesn't work that way. Most adult guitar players get stuck in their heads. They get stuck analyzing the theory or waiting until they fully grasp the concept before practicing it. That's exactly what's stopping you from playing the music that you want to play. When you take action, your fingers and your ears get a chance to make sense out of something that no amount of explaining will actually help you understand. That's why rule number 3 is let your hands learn first. Stop waiting. Pick the guitar up and play. Combine this with the other 2 rules, and you'll find progress that used to feel out of reach starts to feel inevitable. The thing is, even after applying these rules, learning on your own can feel like having all the ingredients but no recipe. That's why I've created another way to learn Spanish guitar that's specifically designed for older beginners. If you want a complete system that takes you from beginning to playing beautiful Spanish pieces in months instead of years, with guided sessions broken down into bite-sized pieces and play-along tracks that you can practice with and 10 times your progress, click that link in the description and learn more.